Hello and welcome again to another episode of Casual Magic. Now today I actually want to talk about the draft that I did in November. We actually had a work event. As amazing as that is, we were able to get a Magic the Gathering work event, have it hosted at a local store, have the cards paid for a certain number of employees who showed up first. And it went great, and I highly recommend if any of you have like employment activity groups at your work, you have some sort of Magic community, try and get it some sort of event going. If it fails, it fails, but at least you can try. And if it all works out, you can actually have Magic as a company event. It was so cool to be able to say that. Briefly though, I just want to show you what I drafted and what I was trying to do. Now I did see a previous review online on the Mana Source from Wedge talking about running a black and white life gain deck. I also saw a guy that I drafted against in San Diego who did black and white, and he did phenomenally well. He owned me. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I previously tried blue and green. Those totally failed, so I'm going to try black and white and see how I do. So very briefly, this is my standard 40 card, well, minus the land, the cards out of my 40 card deck, and we'll just kind of briefly go through in category. Angel of Renewal, the nice thing about that was I could gain a life for each creature I control. So if I could get this late in the game, have a bunch of other creatures out, it at least was worthwhile. Carrier Thrall, mainly there just to die early on and get me a Scion token. Cliffside Lookout, chump block more often than not. Courier Griffin, good to get a flyer and get a couple life. Drawn as Emissary, this was huge. If I can show that properly. This was one that when I played against my opponent in San Diego, he had it, and just not being able to deal with the 2-point life swing every single turn, it just got out of hand very quickly, and I was so glad to be drafting black and white, and on the third pack this actually came around to me, and I was like, oh my god, seriously, this is like the linchpin. This is actually going to let me win today. So if you're doing black and white, get this card. If you're doing vampires in Commander or something, get this card. If you want one that's a good card out of the Battle for Zendikar set and you don't want to spend too much, get this card. Or if you just want to get this card, get this card. I highly recommend this card. Fortified Rampart, good wall, class 3 healer. Whenever a ally enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Again, kind of useful. I really wish I had more allies in the deck, though. There are ones like this that, you know, are creature core scout, creature core, or core soldier ally versus core scout. Not everything's an ally, and that's kind of disappointing. You know, you're trying to run this ally deck, and then half the creatures are allies and half aren't, so that's a little bit frustrating. 1/1 flyer, good to have. Other creatures gain first strike. Didn't really use that so much. The Core Castigator, just to get a 3/1 out, is very good. Get a 2/2 flyer. You gain 1 life, and he's a 1/3. That's very, very useful. I basically had him as an early blocker, and then after that I was gaining life and gaining life. And actually in a couple games I had people use kill spells on him just because they were tired of me gaining life. So definitely a good one to have, especially for a common. The Zulaport Cutthroat, very, very good. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So as long as my opponent was swinging through with a ton of stuff and I had to have several things all die at once, I might keep him out an extra turn or two just to have everything else die and do extra damage to my opponent. couple blown, if I can say that right, couple bone splinters just to destroy target creature. Had to sacrifice something, but again, if I could get something like an Eldrazi token or a little 1/1, I didn't mind taking out something big. Transgress the Mind. I don't know why these were coming to me. These should be taken almost immediately. I mean, it's 1 and a black. Target player reveals his or her hand, then choose a card from it with converted mana cost 3 or greater and exile that card, which is probably about half the cards, and it's any good bomb. So one of the decks that I went against, I had one and then top decked one immediately thereafter because I went down to 6 cards and I could scry it, and I knew this was coming. So turn 2, Transgress the Mind, got rid of 1 bomb. Turn 3, my next Transgress the Mind, got rid of his other bomb. I mean, it worked out really, really well. So again, if you're doing any sort of black, this is definitely a card to pick up during a draft. Exile a target creature card with power 3 or less. It's 3 to get out. It's not the best, but still it's removal because I was running a lot of removal. Circling Fissure to prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn. I didn't really use it for the Awaken one, but at least it was nice. That way, in case my opponent went all out, I could just play this, dodge a bullet, and then swing back and try and get the win. Great Birthing, just basically get a Scion token. Grip of Desolation, 6 a little bit expensive to get rid of a creature in a land, but I did get to use this in a pinch where my opponent was basically just dying, waiting to get a second forest out. So finally, when the second forest came out, I was able to play this and get rid of the forest and just basically lock them down all over again. Inspired Charge just to bump my creatures, lift the Mancer's focus. This really, I think, was just used primarily by me in my draft to just save something that was going up against an Eldrazi. It wasn't so much the 2/2, it was the prevent all damage that would be dealt to that creature this turn by colorless sources. That's where it came in handy. Royal's Retribution, 5. It's a little pricey, but at least you can do 5 damage as you choose among any number of target attacking or blocking creatures. So, pesky flyers, this is how I got rid of them, just because my flyers were pretty small. Smite the Monstrous, good way to get rid of anything big. Angelic Gift, just to make something flying. Retreat to Emeria. That I was primarily using it just to put out additional tokens onto the field. A couple Stasis Snare. Again, I'm not sure why people were letting these come my way, but it was good. That way, in case there was something crazy out that I couldn't handle, basically 3, and at least temporarily get rid of it. Blighted Step, I could sacrifice it and gain 2 life for each creature I control. I did use that once, I believe when I was close to the end, and it was in a situation where if my opponent attacked me with everything, I would be at -1, and I was able to tap mana, sacrifice this, get my life for each creature in play, then have all my blocking creatures die, survive that round, and then swing on through the next time around. So this can be kind of a sneaky card. It's definitely worth taking a look at. Mortuary Mire, absolutely amazing. You don't even have to be running black. If you can pick this up late in a draft and you're doing any color, just get 1. If you can get more, great, but at least get 1. When it enters the battlefield, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. That's it. No spell, no sorcery, no instant, no mana cost, anything. You just basically put out a tapped land and you get something out of your graveyard. I mean, late game, that is amazing. Oh, my biggest creature just died? That's okay. I'll play a land next turn, which, who by that point needs your 15th island or 10th plains. Just play one of these. Get your big creature back out. Get it all over again. I'm not exactly sure why that's a common. Really, out of these common lands in the Battle for Zendikar set, this is probably my favorite one. It's okay to get creatures +1/+1 in Vigilance, but to be honest, I didn't really use it. And Shambling Vent. This one's actually nice, not so much because it can become a 2/3 creature, but because it's a creature with lifelink. So I was able to use that in a couple of games too, where as time went on and I was kind of getting down and running out of options, at least I was able to spend mana, bring this in real quick, get the life gain, and keep surviving. That way my opponent could ping me for a couple damage, but then I could use this and use lifelink to gain it right back anyway. Other stuff I drafted but did not use included Desolation Twin, just because I wanted one. It was actually the first card. There wasn't too much else in that pack, and I know I wanted to do black and white, so I thought, what the hell, I'll take it. I mean, it's fun. And not only that, but I mean, you cast it, and sure, someone might be able to get rid of it, but your 10/10 token still gets out there, so I'm really looking forward to using this in Commander. Clutch of Currents, I didn't care. Sanctum of Ugin, I think I got this really late, just basically because it was another rare. Unnatural Aggression, don't care. Part the Water Veil. I don't think there were any black or red or black or white cards in that deck, and it was one of the mythics that I didn't have, so hooray. Another mythic to my collection. Just took it to take something, leftover planes. Oh, and someone passed on a nice foil mountain, which I was more than happy to take. So I did okay. I actually did I did well enough. I did 2 wins, 2 losses. My first couple were fine. The third one I went up against a black and green deck, and it had a ton of colorless creatures and devoid, and it could just basically overwhelm me. I would have maybe a few flyers, few small creatures, and just kind of ping people to death, and then use some removal. But mine was primarily going up against a large aggro deck where maybe they might have one big creature and I could get rid of it, and then they'd come out with something bigger and I could get rid of that. But I couldn't handle like 10 Eldrazi Scion tokens. That just didn't work. So that one was a complete fail. And the last one was a red and colorless Eldrazi deck at the end. And that was a bit more competitive, but yeah, he took me out in that one too. But it was very, very fun. I had an absolute blast. I think everyone else had a blast too. So out of the couple packs that I got, Chasm Guide, Tide Drifter, Retreat to Hagra, Dragon Master Outcast, hooray! So one more Mythic. Now with these 2 that I got from this day, I am down to Obnixilis, I'm down to Kiora, and I am down to a certain nameless Eldrazi, who my friend got as his very first card out of this, and I still am bitter about that. Such a nice card. So yeah, I'm down to just needing 3 Mythics now to complete my set. Then for the other pack, not necessarily as great. Brood Monitor, Wind Rider Patrol, Jotty Offshoot, Fathom Feeder, which is okay, Island Elemental. Nothing too spectacular. But this is at least what I had for my draft, and again, I'm kind of curious, out of everything that I picked, I mean, you could see at least I was trying to go for a white and black run of some sort, but it didn't work out perfectly. I mean, it didn't go 4-0, but I am kind of curious, out of everything that was available, what else would you have chosen? What would you think I should have kept in or left out? It was Sanctum of Ugin or Desolation Twin worthwhile. Was there anything else in there that you think I should have picked as a main board or a sideboard card? I'd love to hear your comments. I know I'm going to be drafting again sometime during the winter, so again, any comments below would be greatly appreciated. I'll take any advice I can because, again, this is casual and I'm trying to get more of a learning experience here as I go from playing with friends over some beers to that rare time I actually do end up in a store and there's planeswalker points and prizes and other things involved that I'm just not used to. So comment, like, subscribe. I appreciate all of your time, and thanks again. Good luck with all of your future drawing. Until next time.
Or if you just want to get this card, I highly recommend this card.